Hi guys, welcome back. This is second video from the Spring tutorial series. In this video, we will learn about another Spring feature, that is dependency injection in Spring. So guys, how dependency injection works, we will see in this video. Java is an object-oriented programming language. In Java, every project or every class calls object of different classes, and this is how the whole program is achieved, right? This is a simple Java concept. Let's see, if I have a class A and I have class B, class C and class D. Class A needs few objects to achieve its purpose, and those three classes are class B, class C and class D. In regular scenario, how do you create the object? You use new operator. So if you need an object of class B, you can use class B equals to new class B, and similarly for all other classes also. But in Spring Framework, it's done in a different way. In Spring Framework, we don't need to hardcode anything in our class. We make our class as much configurable as possible. So everything is done outside the class. Inside your configuration file, it can be done. So if you need a different object, you can just go to your configuration file and you can make the changes over there, right? This all we explained in the previous Spring tutorial, the first one where I explained you about IOC feature in Spring. If you have not watched that video, please go and watch that video first, and then you can come back here and see the dependency injection of Spring Framework. So let's see one example. What do you mean by dependency? Suppose I have a class called employee class and I have a company class, right? So in the main method, I need an object of employee, and without taking the object of employee, you will not be able to write your company class in this case. So in this way, we can say that company class is dependent on the employee class. Now let's see what are the kind of dependencies that a class can have. So a class can have a dependency on a different class. Like in our previous example, we saw that company class has dependency on the employee class. So the first point tells you that the class can be dependent on another class. You can see on the right side diagram, the box, orange box, you can see private employee object. So in this case, company class is dependent on employee class. So we are taking a reference of employee here. The second one, the different kind of dependency can be a literal or a variable, like you can see on the right side, private string investor name. So if the company have different kind of investors and we just need the investor name, and this investor name variable can be present in my another class, but I just need the investor name variable here. I do not need to create the object of the complete investor class, right? So in this case, the company class is dependent on investor name string. So this kind of dependency can be a literal or variable dependency. The third one can be collections. Here I have taken an example of collection of array list of string data type. So suppose I have social security numbers of all my employees stored in this collection called EMP-SSN. Then I can use EMP-SSN as a collection dependency for my company class, right? So in Spring, there are two types of dependency injection which can be done. The first one is setter dependency injection and the second one is constructor dependency injection. As these names suggest, setter one is from setter methods, right? The setter methods are used to do dependency injection in your class, and the second one is constructor dependency injection. So we will use constructors to do dependency in our class. Let's not go into much theory now because it will confuse you. Let's directly go and run the program, and then theory part will be clearer to you. So now let's go and run the code in Eclipse. So here I have created three classes: company.java, employees.java and managers.java. I just have structure of the class. I have not written anything inside this class. So now I will write the code for this, and then we will see how the dependency injection can be done using setter method. First we will see, and then we will see the second one, constructor dependency injection. Let's first see how the normal code flow works when you are using a setter method. So let me write some code for employees class, like just employee name, okay, private string employee name, and again I will write one simple method to show the employee name, public void show employee name, this out here. Employee name is, and here I will print the name, emp name. Okay, now I will write one setter for emp name. Go to source and create a setter. We don't need getter, let's just create a setter first and generate. Okay, so now I have a setter for employee name. Now I will come to company class, and here I will write my public static void main method, and in this main method let's just create one object of employee class, emp new. Okay, so we have a object of employees class, and then using this object I can call all the methods that I created. For now I just have one method, so show employee name. Okay, and in this show employee name, the employee name will be called. Here what you can do to insert some values inside the object of employee class, you can use the use of setter method here that you have created inside employee class, and then you can inject some values in the setter method. Set employee name, suppose let me give just random name, my name. Okay, so here what you are trying to do, you are trying to inject my name inside the emp name string, right? And then this emp name string will be displayed on your screen once you call the show employee name method. So let's just run this now. Emp name is my name. So here emp name my name is displayed because you are setting this, you are injecting the my name using the setter injection. But when you are using Spring framework, you don't have to do any hard coding. Remember the last video where I told you that Spring creates the object, Spring manages the object as well, and Spring gives you functionality so that you don't have to hard code the values every time, right? So same thing here for dependency injection as well. So what we will have to do, we don't need this code because it's hard coding. We don't need this. We will do everything in our configuration file. So let's go to the configuration file. This is the previous configuration file. I created this in my previous example. If you want to know how I created it, you can just click the link here on the screen and you can go to the previous video and check it. It's very simple. You just have to create one more folder here, and then you can create a bean class. This is configuration file, right? And in this configuration file, whatever values, whatever class name you write inside the beans tag, your application context IOC container will create the object for all these bean classes. So here this is the value from my previous bean class, so I will write in the same way. I have to give this class also, right? I want an object of employee class, so I can just get the qualifier name of employee class and create the bean for that. Very simple. Just give some name like emp and class, give the complete name and close the tag. Okay, so now you have created a bean reference for your employees class. So this will give you an object of employees class, and here you want an object of employee class, right? So remove this, use your application context, create an object, and then you need to use the class reference of your application context, because application context is an interface. You do not have to create an object of the interface, you need a class for that. So class path xml application context is a class where you have all the implemented method of your application context interface. So you can use this class, and inside this you have to write the name of your configuration file. In our case we have beans.xml here, this one beans.xml, where we have defined our employee class bean name. So once this is done, you can just go and get the object of your, get the bean object, right? So appctx.getBean is the method, and in this getBean you have to always use this value, the id that is referring to your class name. So here emp is referring to the employees class name. So come again here and write the name of your id, right, and typecast it. Employees emp object. You can either typecast it or you can just do another thing. You can just write dot class name here. So this will tell Java that this is an object of the class employees. So in this case, you do not need to typecast this. So now you have got the object of your employee class. So once you have got the object of your employee class, you can call show emp name. I have removed the setter injection because now setter method I have removed because now we don't need that, right? We are using Spring framework now, so we need not use that setter injection method, and we will do setter injection using the Spring framework. So emp object dot show emp name will now give you the value of emp. So emp object dot show name can now be called because you have a object that you got from the configuration file. Now let's come here in the configuration file. In the configuration file, you have created the bean reference, right? But now the main thing is remaining. What you have to do in the setter, previously you have input some value, right? My name is the string that we used, and we used to set that inside our setter. Same thing you need to do in the configuration file. So for that, property is the value that you have used. Property, name of the property, and then value of the property. This needs to be done. That's it. Only this should be done. And then bean should be closed here, not there, because this property is the value that should be written inside the bean reference. Let me give some space here so that it's more readable. Okay, so this is the bean, and inside this bean I have written a property name. So now in this property attribute I should write a name and a value, and this name is the same name that is present here, this variable for which you have created a setter. This is the setter and this is the variable. So you need to copy the same name here inside your my beans and put it over here, name. And then whatever value you will give here, let's give my name only. Whatever value you are giving here, this value will go inside this name, and this name will be looked inside your employees class, this class. So if this name is not present, then it will give you an error, right? And again, another thing, even if you have the variable, you should always have a setter method, because once you are writing a property tag here, it means that you are doing the setter injection. So guys, this is the key for setter injection. When you are doing setter injection, you always have to write here property, name, and then value or reference here. In this case, we want to insert some value inside the variable imp name. That's why you are using value thing here, right? So internally, how it's working, this is the name. Any name can be given here. Your name you can give here. Whatever name you give, it goes inside the variable imp name, and this imp name is matched inside the employees class, and here is the employees class. So in employee class, Java will look for the string, and then Java will look for the setter method. So this is the setter injection that is done by Spring framework. So now this is all done. You have my name inserted into emp, and then emp will have the my name. When you are doing show emp name through company.java class, you should get the value my emp name. So let's run this. Ta-da! Emp name is my name, right? Very simple, isn't it? Now let's do another thing. This was just for a string literal, right? I just had one emp name string here, and then I just inserted the value inside that using value attribute here. What if you have a dependency of different kind? This is one kind of dependency, right? One first kind of dependency. What if I have different kind of dependency, like second kind of dependency? One second. Second kind of dependency. What else can be the dependency? What all you can inject here? Suppose if you have a class name, right? You can have a class inside, like this class can call another class, right? Basic Java. So what will happen in that case? In regular scenario, let's see, I have managers.java, right? I already created this. I told you in the beginning, right? So suppose I have managers.java, and inside this managers.java, I have a simple method like public. I always have caps on. Why? I don't know. Public void call managers. Okay, please come to the conference room. I wonder who will write this kind of method. Okay, this is a simple method, and let's run it. Okay, so call manager, please come to the conference room, and this can be called from like employee class. Class can have a dependency, this kind of, right? I know this is a little bit goofy, but let's just stick around with this example because it's a fun example and we will understand all the concepts very easily. So regularly what we do, managers mgr object, this is the shortest object I always write. I don't know, I have this kind of habit. New manager, okay, and write one method here, public void managers calling, okay, and in this I will use mgr dot call manager, the first one that prompt up. Good Java, you're very smart. mgr.call manager, okay, and mgr.call manager is this method. So whenever mgr.call manager is called, please come to the conference room will be automatically called. So let's come back here, mgr.call manager, and okay, this is the regular scenario, and here I want to create one setter for this mgr method. Let me do one thing, let me just write a reference here. Instead of creating the whole object, I can just write a reference, right? I don't need to write the complete thing here because I just need the reference to call my call manager method. So let's just go with this. This is good as well. So now I need a setter and getter for this. Let's just create a setter for this. Where it is, source, generate. Let's just create a setter because we just need a setter. We don't need a getter for setter injection basically. So let's just create a setter here. So here I can go emp object dot managers calling, right? So managers calling is called, managers calling is in this class, managers calling is called, and then final manager calling will be called, right? This is how you will have to write the code in general scenario when you have to call any method of your manager class. Whatever method you have, you just need to create one object and do that. But when you're using Spring framework, it's very simple because Spring is awesome. So in the employees section, employees bean, you already have one property, emp, right? You can give here another property. Just copy this part, paste it here, make the name of your reference, this is the reference, right? The same way you did for your employee. So it's the same, just copy this reference, go to my beans, make this reference, right? And here you have to give, you can give any value. Let's just give mgr class, okay, and let me change this to reference. Because why? Because previous one was I wanted to insert some value into the employee name, but here I don't need to insert any value in this name, right? I just need a reference of this property. Here I just need a reference of managers class, because if you see in employee you had employee name, you wanted to insert some value into this variable, but for managers class you don't need to insert any value into this class. This is a different kind of dependency where you just need the reference of this object of this class, right? You just need the object of managers class, and using this object you are calling the actual method call manager inside your managers class. So in this case you don't have to insert any values inside the variable, you just need the object of manager class, and using that object you are calling the call manager class, right? That is why here you have to use reference. You don't have to use value, you have to use reference. And when you are using reference, you can use this particular reference to create ID of your different class. Let me just do this and it will be very easy to understand. Remove these properties, we will write it again, okay? Save it. Here you can use the reference value, right? And wherever you want to refer to this value to, you can just go and get the qualified name of that. Copy qualified name, come here, paste it. So now you have the ID, you have the class, and this ID is pointing to a different reference. right? mgr class, mgr class, mgr class, these two must be same. If it's not same, if you write something like mgr 123 or anything like that, it's going to give you an error, because this reference should be matching to some id, right? So that is how Java will know that this property is getting referred by different class, right? So now when you come back to employees class, you have the reference here, you have the setter method here, right? And using this mgr object, you are going to call manager. So now let's come back and run the same thing again. Please come to the conference room. Ta-da! Now you know how the Spring framework does setter injection. Very simple, right? If you have another kind of dependencies here, like class dependency or id dependency, you can just keep adding of it over here, and then in the configuration file you can keep adding those property, right? And if you have reference to different classes, you can keep adding this way here. You can keep adding your different classes here, whatever class name, you can just make changes here, and you can give the bean id, and make here you will have to just add it inside the property as a reference, right? This is how Java does the setter injection, guys. This video has been quite long already, so let's just discuss the constructor injection in the different video, and it is also very simple, same way the setter injection. So guys, stay tuned and look on to the different video, upcoming video for constructor injection, and I promise you by the end of that video you will know the complete dependency injection in Java Spring Framework. Thank you guys, take care, please like and subscribe this video, and stay tuned. Bye bye, take care.